hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, how's everybody doing?
Awesome.
Afternoon! Everyone all nice and sated with their food, ready to sink into these big comfy chairs. So nice. All right, so better UX through game design. So my name is Marguerite Dibble. I run a company called GameTheory. And at GameTheory, what we do is we focus on changing behaviors with games. We make games, and we do consulting about using games for this purpose. So a lot of the problems, a lot of our day-to-day ends up tackling this question of, okay, how do you tackle big problems, big intimidating problems? Things like energy and healthcare and motivation and education. Well, we say you motivate people to take action, right? That's the first step in solving any of these problems. You get people to learn new things. You get people to build new skills. You get people to take new steps. And how do we do this? Well, we make it fun. It's a good first step, we think, to getting anything done. Why make experiences demanding interactions when you can build them off natural inclinations? And we do this with game design. So a question that I like to start with a lot of times is, okay, why use games, right? So you guys can be honest. Who sort of gets this mental image when you think about gaming and gamers? You can be honest, because this isn't just you, okay? This is Google. When I Google video game player, these are the top 3 results, okay? So there's definitely a perception there. And I know when I talk to people about using games, this is the image that pops into a lot of people's heads, right? But of course, the reality is that games are a much broader demographic. I'd love to do a quick poll because I love free data. Okay, so who in the room plays games? Phone counts. Woo! There we go. Okay, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. How many people play for more than an hour a week? More than 3 hours a week? More than 5? Okay, let's see how well you stack up to America. So, a lot of people think that games are male-driven. The number is actually very close to 50-50, and it gets closer to 50-50 every year. A lot of people think that games are sort of for younger people. If you look at these stats, actually people over 50 play games more than people under 18, which always surprises me. I mean, we tennis. Who can resist that? And my favorite statistic, women 18 or older make up 33% of the gaming market, while boys under 18 make up only 15%. So double the amount of women in this demographic play games than that sort of cliche picture that a lot of us get in our heads. And 42% of Americans play games for 3+ hours a week. And I think that's about what we're reflecting here when we look at the folks around us. So why not make use of that? It's better for users to make something that's fun, that's engaging, that's enjoyable, and it's better for us. Because I think that games really give us a unique design perspective. And I have to say that I'm really excited that I've been hearing a lot of this perspective in the speakers already today. So when people talk about making games, I often say that making games is more like being a chef than any other art form. Because you can make the most amazing, beautiful plate of food in the world, but it does not matter at all until you put it in front of someone and they enjoy it. Your entire creation is defined by the end user's experience. And it's the same thing with games, right? We don't really get the advantage of writing a novel or completing a painting and saying, well, this is my vision, this is complete. Games come to life in the hands of our users. Without our users, we have nothing. We have no means to expose all of our creation. And so we have to put so much trust and so much emphasis on our users because they create our entire experience. They bring it to life, much the same way that chefs have to rely on the people who are eating their food to be the ultimate experience. That's the end game. That's the end goal. So, I would really encourage everyone to be a chef of your user's experience rather than an artist. An artist, right, gets to stand back and say, well, this is the experience I intend. This is what I want to deliver to you, whether or not it actually gets through, right? But if you're a chef, your user is it. They are the end goal. They are all that matters at the end of the day. So you really have to think about creation in a totally different way. You have to think about it from that empathetic perspective of who's experiencing it much more than the high level of what the experience ought to be for that person. So what I would love to do today with you guys is go through 3 gaming keys for unlocking an awesome UX. The first one I'm going to start with is agency. I'm curious, because this is kind of a buzzword in gaming right now. Is this popping up in anyone else's lives a lot recently? Agency? So agency, at its core, is the idea that if I take an action, I get a reaction to that action. This is something that's incredibly intrinsic to us as human beings, right? It's very natural for us to expect these cause and effect relationships out of things we interact with. It's how we learn, right? There's a reason why babies' toys are basically giant little cause and effect machines, right? Shake a rattle, it makes a noise. Oh my God, I pull on this thing, what happens? It's because we love that as individuals and as human beings. We love to see condensed cause and effect relationships. They satisfy us in a really high degree. And when you allow people to feel their impact on systems, when you allow them to execute those action-reaction relationships, that's when you give them a sense of agency. And agency really is the most powerful gaming tool we work with, right? A lot of people think that games are about gaining power because you get status. But the idea that I get to go into a system and I get to explore and I get to uncover things and I have the freedom to do that, that sense of agency I get from a game is incredibly powerful, and it's why we all like to engage with them. Because what it allows you to do is it gives you the control to explore. It flips the tables from right and wrong, right, which we deal with a lot and which feels really black and white, to cause and effect. In a game, yeah, there's ways to fail, but it's much more exploratory. And so you get to really live through these cause and effect relationships that are very satisfying and very exciting. Because you get to feel that your actions have results. What can I go and do next, right? You're empowered to explore in a way that's really powerful and really enjoyable. We love doing it. It's fun. So let users do it more. So my first sort of takeaway for agency would be empower agency through condensed cause and effect recognition. You'll get people excited to explore, excited to engage by having lots of cause and effect relationships close to the service and ready to expand. All right, our second one, flow. So intimidating design can leave you with a sense of helplessness. You know, a lot of times when we're looking at the challenges we need to solve with games, they seem like really huge goals, right? Like energy efficiency is a good one. The whole planet is dying. What are we going to do? It's kind of intimidating, right? It's this big goal, and you don't really know how you can get there. And I think that a lot of users can feel this sense of helplessness when they're entering an intimidating system, right? Oh my God, there's so much to do. I don't really know how to get from A to B. I don't know what to do inside of this environment. So what games can show us how to do really well is how you can break down goals so that people know how to get there. And suddenly these big, intimidating obstacles aren't as intimidating if you can deconstruct them into clean and clear steps. So in games, we use something called a difficulty curve. Has anyone ever seen difficulty curve design before? So what we're doing is we're trying to negate two really powerful negative emotions that people can experience when they're playing games. The first one is boredom. So that's if the game doesn't get difficult fast enough, you're going to be bored. And then there's frustration, right? So if it gets too hard too fast, you're going to get frustrated. So when we design games, what we do is we try to increase the difficulty of the game on this growing curve. And what that lets us do is keep people engaged optimally by having this sort of pattern of, okay, you're progressing, you meet a point of challenge, but then you're encouraged, right? So it's not just a constant climb up a mountain. It's difficult, moment of challenge, and then you're encouraged, and then you keep climbing. And so it keeps people engaged in a system that's a much more, encouraged and excited way to move forward. And this really ties into flow mindsets in a lot of ways. Anyone familiar with flow? Some hands, yes. Okay, so this is how flow works. And I was actually really shocked when I first learned about this because the exact same graph that we use in games to design engagement. And so flow is that mindset when you just are so focused on what you're doing and you feel like you could just go forever, right? You know what you need to get done and you're rolling with it. I always use the example of chopping wood, right? Because it's Vermont, right? So we're out in the fall and we're chopping the wood and you're just in the zone and you're going with it. And it's a lot of the same necessary components, right? In order to enter a flow state, what you need is you need to have a clear sense of where you're getting to. You need to know what your skill level is to get there, and you need to have this sense that you are steadily progressing towards that goal. And so if we break things out for users, if we let them see that high goal, that big intimidating thing, but we break down all the steps to get to that big intimidating point into nice, visualized, I see where I need to go, I see the steps I need to take, then suddenly it's not so intimidating. Suddenly you feel like the goal is much more reachable, and that's how you can encourage people to take those first steps on the path to accomplishing these big, intimidating tasks. And I mean, it's not anything alien. This is sort of how Agile works, right? We break this giant thing up into smaller chunks that we can do one at a time, keeping in mind the end goal, but making it manageable and having a sense of reward at each stage along the way. It's just a good way that our human brains respond well to intimidating challenges to reach them better and faster. So the sort of takeaway for this one would be anything is possible with the destruction of ambiguity, right? If you destroy this sense of, I don't know what comes next, I don't know where I'm going, then you suddenly are empowered to take all of the steps you need to reach that end conclusion. The third one that I want to talk about, who knows who this kid is? I'm just curious. Anybody? All right, that guy. So the third thing that I'd love to talk about is reward. So what's the difference between games and reality? There's a lot, but I think a big one is that in games, the problems are the fun part, right? Which is so different than the world we live in. We resist challenge in pretty much all other places besides games. In games, we say, oh my God, a problem to solve, let me get in there. And it's just this very different approach to challenges. Our brains just handle it differently. We're excited to engage when it's in a game system. And why is that? What makes games different? Well, I think reward has a large role to play in what makes games feel like the challenge is the fun part. And there's so many different types of reward, right? It's not just gold coins that you get at the end of a level. There's status, right? Status is a great form of reward. The sense that as I progress, I am earning a status. There's skill mastery, just the satisfaction that you mastered a skill and that you are good at something. There's completion. I did this, I got all of this done, I can check this box off. And there's collection. There's this idea that I am filling up an empty thing with bits and pieces until it is completed. These are all things we get a great deal of satisfaction out of as users and as human beings. And I think that the big thing is reward lets us answer this so what question with some gusto, right? So why would I do this? So what? Oh, here's a little present, right? Here's a little package. Here's just a little bit of icing on top of this so what to make it just that much more appealing and limit the ability for you to say, I don't know. It's just a bit more of an excuse that lets you take those first steps. And what we do a lot at Game Theory is we look at, okay, so if we're going to try and solve a problem with this audience, how can we use demographics to determine which type of reward we're going to put in front of players? So we have a few examples here. So this is Charlie. Let's say Charlie's 11. I think he's 11. So if we're designing a reward system and a game system for an 11-year-old boy, we know based on polling and game data that there are some reward systems and structures that are just going to work better for that demographic. So for example, boys of this age really love surprising reactive systems. They like very tightly condensed cause and effect relationships, right? I hit the button and the pig exploded, right? Like, that is awesome for this demographic. They also like social competition. So this idea of besting your peers is very popular in these early teen years. And this idea of exciting surprises, right? So if I tap this button, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but it's going to probably be something exciting and surprising to me. So if we want to solve a problem, like, say, teaching science to 11-year-old boys, we can use some of these gaming tools to make it a fun experience specifically for them. Got a couple more. This is Lydia. So Lydia, we'll call Lydia 15. So 15-year-old girls, when we look at the data, there's a lot of identity exploration in the games that they enjoy and the systems they like. They like this idea of customizing a reality and exploring it. I'm starting to define myself through specificity, right? Am I a mage? Am I a warrior? Is my hair white? Is my hair pink? That sort of stuff can be really engaging. There's this idea of reality displacement. So I'm going to dive into the world of Dragon Age, and I'm going to have relationships, and I'm going to just explore this detached reality. And narrative is huge. The idea that you dive into a story and you play a role in that story for this demographic. We also have Hans. And you know what's so funny about this is when I started making these slides, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the first pop culture figure I can think of who's this age. And it is weird how perfectly the gaming motivators fit with each of the individuals. So for 40-year-old guys, if you look at the data, you get to see some stuff around strategic discovery. So strategy and the appeal of strategy increases with age with game players. Also, people in this demographic tend to enjoy chaotic sandboxes. So this is the idea that I can just go into a space and I can do whatever the hell I want and I can see what happens. So it's sort of this experimental, chaotic, destruction-fueled space. Can be really satisfying and really exciting. And then finally, fantasy immersion. So you get to fully immerse in a fantastical space and explore that. And one more, I have Eleanor here. Eleanor is 61. This one's a little bit more obscure. Does anyone know Eleanor? From The Lion in Winter, Katharine Hepburn. So women in this demographic tend to really get a satisfaction out of collection, this idea of I am filling in all the blanks. If you ever wondered why your mom kept playing Candy Crush, it's probably because she was on level 246, and every time she gets a level, she gets to fill out one of those little dots, and if you get all the way up to level 500, oh my god, I filled out them all. I've done it. There's this idea of completion, right? Ties right into that. You get this immense satisfaction out of completion and challenge. Strategy-based experiences like crosswords and stuff like that tie in well with this demographic and why these types of things are appealing. And then finally, community connections are huge with this demographic. With the over 50 demographic, you start to see people being really excited to use games as an excuse to build stronger social networks and connect with people who they haven't connected to in a while. So it sort of builds in these social chains in a way that allows them to continue to build these relationships through the gaming space. So this is sort of reward, right? If you reward right, you can accelerate action. If you want people to take an action within your system, if you want them to solve a problem, reward them right, and you can promote those results much, much faster. So I wanted to show you guys a few examples of some game UIs that I think do a really awesome job conveying a ton of information in a really nice, crisp, clear way. And they really promote these ideas of empowering people with cause and effect relationships that are visually represented and exciting. They give you a good sense of flow by letting you know where you need to go and how you need to get there in a really concise way. And they let you get rewarded in a way that is reflective of your demographics. So ignore the YouTube art. So we're going to start with a AAA experience. This is Destiny. Fiddle. Play. Okay. So we're just going to rewind a little bit. So when you're entering Destiny, what you're going to see, fast forward a little bit more. So you're jumping down on the surface of a planet. See that right away. Here's your first objective. You joined a mission. Here's what you need to do right away. The UI is so clean. It's not obstructing you as a player, but it's delivering all the information you need. You've got your ammo counts. You've got the amount of time till your power-ups. You've even got a really nice subtle map up here in the corner. And it's letting you know when you need to know what your next steps are. But it's not infringing on your experience, right? Here we go. It's a level 6 enemy. I get this nice clean typography that's telling me how much damage it's taking. None of it's really infringing on my experience. It's just heightening my experience. So it's this nice UI combination of these cause and effect relationships. When I take an action, I get a nice satisfying reaction out of this, but it's not complicating things. And I get this sense of progress in what I need to do throughout the game. So if I go towards the end of the experience here, all right, so here I go. So here's the boss man, right? Again, nice, simple design elements letting me know what I need to. I get the boss's health way on the top so that my overarching goal is always in mind. I know what I need to be focusing on no matter what. And then when I take him out, oh, destroy the shrine. Okay, there's my next objective. I get a clean little map indicator. And when I finally complete this level and the mission ends, A little bit more. It's going to give me a really clean sense of the rewards that I accomplished. So my progress towards each one of these overarching goals. Here were your rewards. Here's your total counts and the status that you earned throughout this mission. So it's just a really clean, concise way to reinforce all of these motivators for the user. And then when it gets really complicated, they have to communicate a ton of information really quickly. So this is for hardcore Destiny players once they are in intense multiplayer rounds. So just look at how the UI evolves as they have to present tons of different information to the player. So you can see, okay, here's all the stuff that's happening to each player that's been taken out by this gun, by this player. My weapon is supercharged. How much time do I have to neutralize the target? What's going on with my team? What's going on with my ammo? All the reactions individually, but it's still getting communicated in a clean, concise way. So I think there's really a ton to learn from game user interfaces in terms of how much information they can convey and how they aren't inhibiting the user's experience, they are enabling it, but with lots of information that's pertinent to what's motivating. There's your reward. So this is a AAA experience, but I wanted to show how this can also be done really nicely on a mobile experience. Has anyone been playing Alto's Adventure? Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my God. I've been playing it nonstop. So with Altos, this is just on mobile, right? So it's a more casual environment, but it sets you up really well with a lot of these same principles. So once you get started, we got some instructions. I'm just going to skip through the... I breeze past the tutorial real quick. So check it out. So every time I start the game, what am I trying to do? Oh, that's what I'm trying to do. Lets you know. It's each of those steps to get to that overarching goal presented to you in a really nice, clean, concise way so you know what you need to do in order to succeed. It's got very nice cause and effect relationships. Hey, I accomplished my goal. It lets you know, but it's not infringing on your experience. You get to continue on. It keeps track of your points in this very nice display. So as I do combos and jumps, it just in this unimpeding way adds up what my totals are towards my score, keeps track of how much distance I've traveled. This game is awesome, by the way. If you can't tell already, you're chasing llamas. If you get far enough along, you get to unlock the llama character. Pretty sweet. His name is Felipe. He's beautiful. And so let's see. So once you actually get to the end of a level here, oh, the elder, look out. Done. All right. Here's what you got done. Here's your progress to level 4. Here's your score. It's so straightforward. What it's doing is it's setting the player up with a really good sense of their cause and effect relationships. It's letting the player feel like they know nice, accomplishable, satisfying steps they need to take to reach the higher goal, and they're getting rewarded all along the way. And this game is just awesome. It changes time as the time of day changes. You get to go at night. And as like a little nerdy side note, what's really sweet about it is it algorithmically generates the landscape. So the landscape is random every single time and based on certain mathematic principles to make sure it's always diverse and exciting. But yeah, so these are some UIs. Oh, don't want to do that. Forgot I was in the presentation. Oh, that's nice. There that goes. Exit full screen. Lost. There it is. All right. There we go. All right, so to wrap it up, be the chef of your users' experiences. Think about it solely from their perspective only, and don't push your artistic vision. Rather, think about it in terms of what their taste buds will experience and how you can elevate that to the best experience you can. Empower exploration with a good, clear sense of cause and effect as often as you can in as many instances. Fully engage with the flow, goals, and pathways to get your user to take actions in a clear, more satisfied and rewarding way. And reward right to encourage the actions that you want. And above all, let your users have fun, and you'll reach your goals that much faster. Thank you.